Welcome back, episode 2 of Chef's Kiss. We got John LaLogia with me, my co-host. What's good, John?
What's going on, man? How's it going?
Not too much. Just another Monday. We get to record today. Cubs are playing right now, so I was keeping an eye on them. New things are happening. I'll announce it maybe next episode. Just good stuff. So we'll see what's happening.
Did you change your background? What are all those pictures behind you of the field? That collage.
That is a collage. It is. It was my summer of fun employment. I got fired when I was like maybe 24, 23, something like that. And that's when I was living in Wrigley, and I got fired like in May. So one summer I went to like 30 games, me and my buddy, and he was a teacher. So he had summers off, and we were just like, we are going to the Cubs game every day. There was a week we went 5 games out of 7 days. So there's a picture from every game. That one, Chris Bryant's first hit. Like, we saw a lot of cool stuff there. So
that was 2015?
Had to be, yes.
Yeah. Oh, what an awesome time. Like, right as the cusp was coming. You know, all
best time to get fired, I'll tell you what.
100%. Everyone from the Cubs, like front office, always talks about, like, everyone's like, oh, 2016, you won the World Series. Everyone, Theo, a bunch of people, everyone says that 2015 was the best year because you could just start to see things working. And, like, even though they got swept by the Mets in the NLCS, they're like, 2015 was hands down the most fun year because 2015 was the most fun and exciting. He goes, 2016 was like nervous. Like, we have to do this. Like, we have to win.
But it was also some of the most competitive baseball we've seen in years. You know what I mean? And the plan kind of was coming together, bringing up, and like I said, in that book that I read, The Cubs Way, talks about the 4 pillars that needed to be built, and it's a really cool story on it. So that's that. I put that up with some sticky tack not too long ago.
Dude, very nice. Very
cool
nice,
shit.
man.
Cool shit. What's going on in the sports world, John?
Well, we got a couple things. The draft is happening. A lot of stuff, but we should probably talk about Bryce Harper. So, as you know, 159 days after Tommy John surgery, he was expected to return in July. Bryce Harper will be in the Phillies lineup tomorrow as their DH, and kind of announced it on social media with some pretty serious photos and imagery that he's ready to go. Just one, that's crazy that how quickly he came back from that injury. It reminds me of like Schwarber tearing his ACL and then just being like a maniac and just all he could do is track balls for 4 months.
He got on base 10 out of 20 plate appearances in the World Series after tearing his knee apart in Arizona 5 to 10 games into the season.
Yeah, but like it's awesome. Harper's back. Like put him as DH. If he can play and he can swing, throw him in the lineup. That's going to be amazing. I can't believe he came back this early.
I don't know what the record is on fastest recovery time for this, but it's got to be up there as the fastest, and then performing at such a high level. I just love this grit that he has, and like he is the kind of guy that you want on your team because he wants to play. He wants to play baseball and he wants to win. And you saw that when he came back, when he broke his thumb against the Padres, to come back and knock out the Padres to go to the World Series. It's just a gamer that you want on your team.
Similar to Luis Robert on the White Sox, who hits a ground ball back to the pitcher and jogs to first base, and then says, Oh, I was hurt. I was totally hurt. Which Gordon Beckham, a former White Sox player, totally called him out on that. And NBC Sports Chicago was like, "Listen, if you're hurt, you can't say you're hurt after you loaf on the field. You have to go in and tell the trainer or give the manager a heads up." Now, a couple of his buddies, I think Elvis Andrus, and he was covering for him, be like, "Oh yeah, he's been hurt," but it's like, no, you got to tell the manager that.
That was always like in football, like if you were playing high school football and you'd be like, "Oh, my ankle was hurt," and he's like, "Did you go to the trainer?
To the trainer
before practice?"
Exactly.
And you're like, "No." Why didn't you go? If you're injured, why didn't you go get taped up before practice? Right. And then you're like, "I just don't want to run sprints."
Pretty much. Yeah, it's like I don't feel like running to first base. But when you're getting paid millions of dollars, you're definitely going to get called out on that, which is why he got benched.
Yeah. One thing I think it's important for Philly fans to consider is to temper your expectations about Bryce Harper coming back, okay? On a sport where one person out of 9 can make as whatever percentage that is. Basketball, you're 20% of your starting 5.
Steph Curry, if you have one great player, you can literally win a series.
Yeah, so just temper your expectations. It's great that he's coming back. They lost Rhys Hoskins, so it's good to get some thump back in that lineup. They can kind of configure the lineup a little bit differently now with him in there. So Castellanos has been batting very well. The lineup looks good, but just temper your expectations a little bit. He is, coming back to see Major League pitching for the first time, since postseason or the World Series. Yeah. Just temper your expectations, but it's great to see him in the lineup. Especially where he left off, right? I mean, he left off in the World Series doing great things. So.
He was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Just a guy, in the opposite, a guy you just don't want to see come up. You're just like, oh, God. Just putting the fear of God in you. And every time he came up to the plate, you were just like, fastballs up and in. If you leave anything over the plate, he's not going to miss it. He was so locked in.
Because his ability to go all over the field.
Opposite field, yeah. He's got tremendous power to left center, and it's almost like Mike Trout, too. It's like you can pitch Mike Trout in one spot, and it's up and in, and that's it. And you have to hit that spot, and if you miss, he just crushes the ball. I've talked about this before, but I have MLB TV. And the games I watch the most, honest to God, is when I'm falling asleep, is Angels games and Dodgers games because they're later. And Trout, if you miss your spot, by a fraction, he smokes it. And I feel like Harper last year in the World Series was so locked in that if you did not just paint a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball up and in, he was going to hit it hard or take you deep.
Yeah. Playoff Bryce Harper is a different kind of player.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen that. He's a 2-time MVP, but playoff Harper is just different. So
and you feed the lineup feeds off that. You can feel that. I think probably Schwarber really helps that lineup, but that intensity that just that palpitates throughout the entire lineup.
Leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership, right? I mean, this is his team. When he's on second base, this is my fucking house. That's he takes pride in that. He's like, I am Philadelphia. So exciting. And then they're coming home to play on Friday. So I'm trying to go, but I think my wife made plans for Cinco de Mayo. So we'll see.
That's all right. Hey, just have a couple Coronas at the game. Win-win.
Exactly.
So you've been. I want to transition to this. You've been total. And you can't deny this because there's a ton of video content of you out there talking about it. You've been very old man, get off my lawn about these new MLB rules, which I happen to like and which a lot of people are enjoying them. The numbers don't lie, and it's going very, very well. You and fellow senior citizens are not fans, but most of us are. But there is something new that's popped up that you've pointed out, and I wanted to get your take on it. So MLB now needs a 24-hour notice for any standing ovations to avoid a penalty ball or strike. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's ridiculous. There needs to be some common sense, right?
Can I address something before we get into just a 30-second rebuttal? Because you said about the rules, you said it's going great and everybody likes it.
That's spot on.
Look at the numbers.
Spot on impersonation. That's exactly what I said.
Look at the numbers. So just a real quick rebuttal, 15, 30 seconds. What numbers are you talking about? How do you think how do we know it's going well? Because
everybody likes it. Everybody but you. Everybody I've talked to enjoys it.
And they watch games.
Yes.
Or do they just say, yeah, I love it. I love the new rules. And they don't watch zip. They don't watch anything.
They are trying to they've already got you as a baseball fan. They're trying to get people that aren't baseball fans. They're trying to attract new people to the game. Just like how football did when they changed the rules and they made fantasy more part of that. But it's the same thing. They're trying to get a broader audience.
So you think that's working? That's just what I'm asking. Is you think that there's more
after 4 months, are you seeing a tremendous growth in audience? Of course not. No, it's been one freaking month of the season. That's an extremely small sample size, but you can look at the numbers, and it is shortening games, and it is moving things along, and that long term will lead to a more general audience paying attention and maybe wanting to bet and maybe wanting to be more involved in it and learning more about it.
Yeah, I mean, until I see those numbers, I have a hard time believing it's bringing in a new audience. But
it's way too early to see that. It's been 1 month.
Sure.
It's not going to work. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to work after 1 month, but it's working. Like, the new rules are quickening the pace. That cannot be debated.
I mean, my wife kept complaining that the bases were just too small. But then they got bigger, and then she was like, now I'm watching games, and I'm staying up late, and because the bases were too small. You know what I mean? So
I'm gonna
back to your question, though, okay?
Go ahead.
This is dumb, right? So we were saying, can we put some logic and some common sense into these rules? Because right now, it's like a very black and white. Like, come on. So now they're, like you said, MLB needs a 24-hour notice before there's a standing ovation. So if it's someone's, last plate appearance at their home stadium, or, Drew Maggi, he was the one that came in that most recently.
For the Pirates.
Tip of the cap.
Yeah.
For the Pirates. His first game in 13 years in the minors. And then, strike one. It's like, where's the common sense? I'm hoping that next season they can put in some leniency or something for these common sense rules, because this is stupid. Your thoughts?
I think that's ridiculous. Yes, there has to be some common sense implemented in here, but stolen bases are up, which is great, which is something the fans wanted. Triples, doubles, and stolen bases. So more singles, that's happening. More stolen bases, more action. All of that is good for the game, and it's going to help grow the game. So all of that is great. However, this rule, like the 24-hour notice for standing ovations, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And I think that happened because I think it happened because a former player came back to his old team and gave a tip of the cap, and he was docked and was given a ball for it.
It happened to Cody Bellinger.
That's it, Cody Bellinger. Yeah, with the Dodgers. So stuff like that, like using and this is where, like, they're talking about robot umpires, and I definitely think that's happening. But this is where umpires can be effective, is on the field and using their judgment, having common sense to be like, hey, I'm not gonna dock them a ball for this. It's no different than someone getting a curtain call or a catcher getting clipped or getting hit in the groin or whatever, and then they go out and they take their little brush and they brush the plate, and they're giving them time. That's the common sense we're talking about, and I think that common sense just needs to be applied to these new rules. And hopefully the front office have given the umpires like the authority to be like, hey, use your best judgment, all right? Like,
yes.
Don't be an asshole. If someone's hurt or if there's a standing ovation or some of these other things, like, not everything has to be written down. Like, use your judgment. You've been a Major League Baseball umpire for several years. So that is an absolute ridiculous rule. And I do wonder that some of these rules, I wonder if they're going to change them for the playoffs. I really do. Just like fucking hate that rule so much. It is so unfair to that pitcher coming in an extra inning game, an automatic ghost runner on second base. I hate that rule so much. It is so unfair to the pitcher. I just can't stand it. And that rule is not implemented in the playoffs, which I completely agree with. And so I wonder and I hope that some of these rules, like you said, like the WBC, like that matchup versus Ohtani and Trout, there was no time clock on that. We really got to enjoy that indelible moment and let it sink in. I hope they're not really sticklers on some of these rules in the playoffs.
I don't want to see pitchers rush. I don't want to see hitters
I'm with
rush
you on that.
in the playoffs.
Not in the playoffs
at all.
Not in the playoffs.
Right?
I agree.
And then as it is right now, they have a little buzzer on their wrist. Umpires have a little buzzer. As soon as that buzzes, and if they're not in a delivery or they haven't addressed the pitcher, that's when they call it. So it's a little buzz. use some better judgment, right? If he's about looking up and it's, a fraction of a second, whatever, let it slide, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Egregious. Just like the NFL. They let players bump and run and tug a little bit. You let the boys play, but if it's not egregious, I'm going to let them play.
I'm 100% with you. Yes, we definitely agree.
We're making progress. We're reaching across the aisle.
We're getting there. It's taken a lot of work to meet you on your lawn. So
nobody said I was easy.
Definitely not. So it's been a month. It's May 1st. Happy May.
It's gonna be May. How many times have you heard that?
A million. And it was getting so. I had to get off of social media. It was hard because it's my professional job. Right. But it was getting. I was so sick of seeing Justin Timberlake's face today. It was a bit much. But since we've been a month in the season, we're now in May. Want to do some April grades for some MLB teams, and we have the grades obviously. But I wanted to. I obviously know the one I am most surprised about. And I'll just go into that right now. It shouldn't shock anybody. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were given an A+. Obviously, the Rays are top with an A+ too. But the Pittsburgh freaking Pirates, A+, I could have never predicted this. They are, what are they, 20-8? 21-9? Something insane. And they're doing it with a 36-year-old Andrew McCutchen, a 37-year-old Carlos Santana, and a 43-year-old Rich Hill. This is like a beer league. This is like a beer league softball league.
Vince Velasquez, who has 18 scoreless innings. Vince Velasquez, did you say him?
No, I didn't even mention him.
Coming out of nowhere, right? Yeah, exactly. Coming out of nowhere. That staff, like you mentioned. Insane, putting up good numbers.
It's unbelievable. Again, the re-signing of Brian Reynolds, an 8-year, $106 million extension. When's the last time Pittsburgh has spent any money like that? Obviously, it sucks that O'Neal Cruz broke his ankle when he was crashing, into a player. But that sucks. But the Pirates, dude. I was wrong. I think our last pod, I was like, this is a fluke that they'll come back to life. And obviously it's only been a month, so that easily could still happen. But I can't believe that they're this good. As opposed to Baltimore. Baltimore was given an A, and I'm not surprised about that. They have been showing signs that they have been putting together a really, really strong team centered around Adley Rutschman. So those are the ones that
their bullpen too, John. David Bednar, 0.69 ERA, 17 strikeouts. I mean, ridiculous numbers.
I agree. Yeah. So what are some grades that you were a bit surprised about?
I think the Cubs. I mean, I'm not talking. I don't think the grading surprised me. Their performance has surprised me in a division that I thought the Cardinals are going to pretty much run away with very early. That might be one of my biggest surprises is the Cardinals. When you have a possible Hall of Famer in Goldschmidt and a definite Hall of Famer in Nolan Arenado on your corners, and they're playing so poorly. They were going to be the favorites in that division. Obviously, we know what the Pirates did, but the Cubs as well. Cody Bellinger looking like he's in his MVP form again. Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, who was treated as like a consolation prize at the beginning of the season. Oh, we didn't get Correa. Now we got Swanson. Swanson's been fantastic on the base paths, getting on base. Ian Happ. Cubs have the best on-base percentage. They're 1, 2, 3 slots in the lineup. They just got back Suzuki a couple weeks ago. He's been playing well. Marcus Stroman kind of came out of nowhere. The first 4 starts, 0.75, led the NL in ERA. Drew Smyly almost has a perfect game and then ruins it in perfect Cubs fashion. They run into each other. So that was fun. Just been a fun team. Young, aggressive, offense very good. Bullpen, probably not the best. Decent starting pitching. So I love how well the Cubs are playing recently.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Bellinger is a huge reason for that. And particularly how he's hitting and how he's hitting left-handed pitching. If you remember, there was times when he was with L.A. that Dave Roberts would just keep him out of the lineup if there was a left-handed hitter just because he could not hit lefties. He is slugging. He has 4 home runs against left-handers thus far this year. He is slugging over 700 against left-handed pitching right now. So if he keeps this up, they might have Justin Stone and the hitting coaches for the Cubs might have uncovered something because he has MVP talent and potential, and you're starting to see it. Like these aren't like cheap home runs. He is smoking these balls. So that is great to see. As far as the Cardinals go, I am surprised, and I think it's because their starting pitching has been absolutely horrific. When 3/5 of your rotation have ERAs like over 5, Jake Woodford, Steven Matz, and Miles Michaelis. Now Michaelis pitched in the WBC, but still, that is horrible. And all like the bullpen, like Hensley and Hicks, who both throw like well over 100 miles an hour, are both 0-2 and allowing a ton of base runners. Arenado really hasn't done much, since the start of the season. So I definitely am surprised about that. I'm frankly surprised about the Cubs hitting. I didn't think their offense was going to be that potent, and their starters have been pretty good as well. So I think those are a couple grades that and also how bad the White Sox are. The White Sox have have a grade F,
so bad.
The grade F minus. Like being in Chicago, we can watch those games all the time. Dude, they suck. They swing like bad. So they were so Steve.
John, it's one thing to suck, but it's also one thing to give no effort and suck.
Exactly, and I think that's what fans are basically like. This is becoming embarrassing, and they were breaking. So it was they're playing the Rays, and so they were basically doing the splits of like, this is what the Rays do well, this is what the White Sox do well. The Rays hit home runs, the White Sox don't. The Rays rarely strike out. The White Sox have the highest chase rate of any team in the major leagues. The Rays strike people out. The White Sox do not strike people out. Their ERA is really high. It's like the White Sox do everything wrong with the metrics that matter, and the Rays do absolutely everything right. And the Rays have like virtually no payroll. But the thing is, like, everyone's like, oh, what should we do? Like, sell the team? Like, dude, that's like the one job you can't get fired from is the owner. Like, Reinsdorf is never gonna sell the team. Like, unless you like are caught on tape saying something like misogynistic or racist, like Dan or doing terrible things like Dan Snyder or some of these other owners. Like, no one can make you sell the team. You're gonna make money hand over fist. So the White Sox are so bad to watch, and it's so puzzling because they have such like really great players, and they are just really bad at baseball. So
your best player is Jake Berger right now.
Right.
That's their best player.
And they're hitting him 6. Why?
Yeah.
Why is he hitting 6? He should be a 2 or at least in the top 3. Like, why is he hitting 6? And now they're not they're not running to first base. So
it's the same reason I don't adjust my fantasy lineup, because I'm like, man, Arenado's going to turn it around. He's still playing third, and it's like, well, he fucking sucks right now. So plug someone else in there.
They're really, history will tell. Like, they'll really look back and talk about that La Russa signing when the White Sox had their window. Like 1920, 21, 22, like Abreu had won MVP. Moncada, like Dylan Cease started to come, like Giolito. Like everyone was on all cylinders, and then they hired Tony La Russa. Like
Sleepy Joe's.
Seriously, like that history will not be kind to Jerry Reinsdorf for that. Now, maybe he doesn't care because he won 6 championships with the Bulls, but still, like that is such. If you're a White Sox fan, it just sucks for you because that was your opportunity, and you missed your window.
My cousin's a White Sox fan, and he tells me every single day, like, he's on the verge of, like, switching. Like, I don't want to be a Sox fan anymore. I don't want to be associated. We had that win in 2005. That's great. But ever since, like, they have done absolutely nothing. He's, like, very on the edge of just, like, leaving. He's like, I got to find a new team. I can't watch this team anymore.
Yeah, I totally get it. And honestly, I think Craig Calcaterra wrote this book called Fandom, and he was basically explaining like just because you have a team, like okay, you relocated to Philly and now you're a Philly fan. Like I think that's cool. Like, I don't think you're relegated to one team your entire life. And he wrote a book called Fandom, which is basically saying like, okay, like he used the Cleveland Browns for example. He goes, they have shitty ownership, they've never been good, they don't know how to draft. Like, they're just not a good franchise, and if you live in suburban Cleveland or somewhere in the state of Ohio and your dad's a Browns fan, like, you don't have to support that team. If ownership doesn't support the team by making quality moves and making moves that are going to benefit your team, then you shouldn't be a fan of that team. That's like Sam Zell and the Cubs, just profiting off of WGN for years and not giving a shit about winning because they were making money. Like, you don't have to be a fan of that team. If your front office and your ownership shows absolutely no effort in trying to make your team competitive and trying to win, why should you as a fan root for that team? Like, so
it's a product at the end of the day, John. It's a product that you're consuming. That
right,
you're
and
and
it's like you're paying for this, like you're paying for cable, or you're spending your time, your valuable time watching this. And if it's a shitty product, like we have allegiances to these teams. No, you don't. You have none. Right. You have absolutely none. I'm a Packer fan, but but they invest in their team. They draft well. We've gotten very lucky in a couple quarterbacks. Like, I support that team. But the White Sox right now, and for a long time, have been doing none of that. So I don't know at this point, and especially now when they're not even trying, when they're not even running to first base, I don't know how you can support this team anymore. Like, you can't.
I wouldn't. I told them it's time to go and find another team until they put something on the field that is worthy of it, right?
Yeah. It's embarrassing. Dude, the Rays, I mean, I know they won that weird fluke game, on Vaughn's home run, but every other game,
they gave up 7.
But every other game, like the bullpen blew that game so fast. They blew it.
Jalen Beeks, dude.
They blew it
Jalen
in a
Beeks
second.
sucks.
Like their bullpen guy, their bullpen walks guys. They just do everything wrong. They don't throw first pitch strike. They chase all the time, and the Rays just don't do that. The Rays don't strike out. The Rays make contact. The Rays run the bases well. They take an extra base. They play great defense. And I can't name anyone on the Rays. Like, okay, Wander Franco, a few other, Rosarena, but there's some other guys. I'm like, oh, that guy just hit a home run to left center. I'm like, who is that guy? And then another guy hits a home run. I'm like, who are these people? And then some no-namer coming out of the bullpen just, like, throwing ungodly breaking stuff in a fastball at, like, 90, 98 right here at the top of the zone, and they just, like, can't hit it. I'm like, it's just incredible. Like, and I can name 2 people on the team. It's just, it's unbelievable.
They also have the best ERA in baseball.
Yeah. The other thing, too, which I thought was interesting, the last couple years, and people talk about, it doesn't matter about your minor league system. Like, who gives a shit if you win the AAA or AA championship? The Rays have been amazing in all of their minor league systems, and they've, like, won consistently the last 3 years. So it's not just that they're developing players, but they're cultivating that champion mindset, even in the minor leagues. It's like, hey, we're here to develop players. This is ultimately to build our, a farm system that we can hopefully promote players to go to our major league team, the Tampa Bay Rays. However, while we're here, let's develop, but let's also win. And some people think that minor league stats don't mean shit. I disagree. I look at the Rays. Their minor league system, they are good at every level, and they've won multiple championships the last couple of years. So they are cultivating that winning mindset. When they come up, they are developed. They know what to do, and they want to fucking win. That's what you want. And as a front office, you're paying nothing for them.
Right. Homegrown talent, baby.
Yes. It's all drafting and more than that, it's player development. They're finding guys and they're molding them into the players that they want them to be. They're finding the one thing they can do well, and then they are just optimizing the living shit out of it.
Well, that's one thing that's different from the MLB draft.
That's what they do better than anybody.
Draft, is that MLB, you draft talent. Football, you're drafting positions. Baseball, it's drafting talent. You'll have left fielders that turn into first basemen or third basemen, outfielders that turn so it's more drafting talent at that level. But speaking of the draft, John, is there anything that you took away from this draft? I know it was surprising how many quarterbacks went so quickly, right?
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised.
Me too. And I do think the Bears made the right decision. Like, there wasn't a can't miss quarterback in this draft. Like if for example, if Caleb Williams was in this draft from USC, I would have taken him number 1 over Justin Fields. Sorry, no offense, but there really wasn't. Bryce Young went 1, and they kept talking about his slight frame and how he wasn't that big of a guy and all these other things. But I did want to talk about like why drafting a quarterback is so hard, and is like just by the law of averages, you're just not going to find a great quarterback. A great quarterback comes along once every 4 to 5 years. Or is that really it? Because so many quarterbacks come and so many quarterbacks go, and people spend so much time trying to assess what makes a good quarterback. Like, that's I've heard in any sport it's the hardest position to draft for.
Bro, my thing is every time you hear Mel Kiper, he's gonna be a impact player. Johnny Manziel, Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf, like all these guys that get drafted early, it's so hard to predict. Nobody knows what they're going to do at the next level. Nobody knows how well they're going to be able to read a defense, how fast they're going to be able to adapt. So I don't buy into like all that stuff where, like you said, if Caleb Williams was there, I would take him. If you got a guy who can run your offense currently, like I'm not investing a first round or a first pick in that, like not even knowing. Like you said, they come around once every Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, right? Like those two guys you would say are good quarterbacks. Justin Herbert out of Oregon, but I mean I don't even think Justin Herbert went very high. I don't remember, but
he might be better than both of those guys you just mentioned.
Right, and I don't know where he went in the draft, but I don't remember how high it was. But do you know what I'm saying? Is like these quarterbacks that go so high, so much pressure to perform. Like you're a first round draft pick. If you're not awesome and a franchise quarterback, like you're nothing. You're going to be a backup very short.
Well, it sucks too because you're also going to a shitty team, and when a shitty team means a shitty offensive line, and as Justin Fields knows better than anybody, you can't do anything with a bad offensive line on offense, right. Especially as a quarterback. Right. You can't do anything. Like, there's so many plays that are predicated upon giving you a little bit of time to throw on a rollout or whatever, or establishing some sort of run that could set up play action to set up other things. When you don't have a good offensive line, you can't do anything on offense. You really can't. And until the Bears get a decent offensive line, you're just really never going to see the total package with Justin Fields. We know he's athletic. We know he can run, but can he make those secondary and third reads? And I still haven't seen it.
One thing that I really liked, I thought was cool, some people hated on it and they're like, it's cheesy, is how many Georgia players the Eagles drafted. Not saying like that's like cool just because it's Georgia. I think it's cool because the guys that you played in college with are now on a professional football team and you're all playing together.
Sure.
That whole defense, the D-line, the linebackers, edge rushers. Like,
didn't they just trade for DeAndre Swift, like from the Lions? Yes. And I think he went to Georgia.
Yes, he did as well, yes. So all these guys that you all played in college with are now on a professional team together. You played with each other for 4 years already. Like, that chemistry is already built in. I think that defensive unit, is going to be nasty. And it's just cool. Just cool that you all played together in college.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, look at Jamar Chase and, oh my God, why am I blanking on his name?
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Yeah, like they played in college. There's an undeniable connection there immediately. Yeah. I could see it when they were playing the Packers. I was like, oh wow, these two, like These two are doing like back shoulder stuff and stuff you wouldn't do until like your third year with a receiver with multiple reps and trusting him to like go deep and just knowing that he's going to come down with it, like big time throws, and just trusting that Chase is going to go up and get it. Like you just don't you just don't see a quarterback throwing a ball like that with that confidence, and you only see that when they have that rapport. Last thing I'll touch on, not really with the draft. What do you think of Lamar Jackson's new contract with the Ravens? I feel like it was the march to the inevitable. Like they were going to re-sign him. It was just for how much. But are you happy with that? Are you surprised? Or do you not care?
I don't. I really don't care that much. I think I'm glad that he got paid. I always say Lamar Jackson is always the most athletic person on the field at all times.
Absolutely.
Out of all 22 players, he's the number one.
He'll win you double-digit in a regular season. He'll get you 10, 11 plus wins. He'll get you in the playoffs. I just don't know if And the other thing too, he plays on such a good team. Like John Harbaugh puts together a really good team with a tough defense.
I would argue his receivers probably aren't the most talented. The receivers that he's been given, I don't think, are as much as other quarterbacks.
I would agree with that. He relies a lot on Andrews, his tight end, his running game, and also his own running game. But the other thing too is, like I talk about with Justin Fields, like you want to play that type of game, you're gonna have a short career. You're gonna have a short shelf life. Like that's a pretty big commitment considering all of the hits he has taken, and now you are really, particularly last season, you're really starting to see those injuries start to pop up a little bit more frequently than they used to.
Last 2 seasons he didn't finish.
I know,
right? Last 2 seasons. Yeah.
And so to give him that type of money is a little puzzling, but he is so dynamic that maybe you're like, if he could be great for another couple years, if we can squeeze maybe a Super Bowl out of him, that money would be worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always say, it ain't my money. What do I care?
Yeah.
It's like, you want to pay him that? That's great.
I'm with you, man. Cool.
All right, John. It's at 37 minutes. You're not watching Jury Duty.
I'm not watching Jury Duty. I do want to talk about Rec League softball, if I may. So it's May. I'm on a softball team playing Tuesday nights. I've been playing softball I played baseball, obviously, in high school and college. And now, as I'm an older man in my 30s, I play beer league softball. It's great. I love it. It's super fun. I have played in a very intense league with former, D1 players, and I've held my own. It's been fine. But I've also played in a rec league with people that aren't as good, and it's a little bit more fun. I find myself in the rec league, but these people are taking it so seriously. It's crazy. I'm getting 70 text messages a day from this group chat about what spikes to wear, pictures of the spikes, and then meeting the commissioner to see if my bat is legal. It's like, these are things I've never done ever. What are we?
It's always,
and they're all super nice, but it's like,
sure.
What's the fine line?
You got a $500 bat with a $2 swing, right? It's like, come on, Frank. Your bat is whatever, dude. You're not very good anyway.
And what's the? It's a fine line. I want to win. I also want to have fun, and I'm gonna take it seriously, but I'm not gonna be so intense about it because I want it to be fun. But I also want to win. I'm not gonna go out there and fuck up or not run or not try. But it's just it's crazy.
Where do you see the seriousness happening the most? I always see it in obviously the more competitive games against teams that someone shoots one up the middle on accident. And you're like, you're coming for my pitcher, and then obviously once it gets to playoffs and stuff like that.
Have you ever gotten in a fight during softball?
No, nothing physical, but where it starts getting chippy. people start chirping, and and there's like, "Whoa, yeah, come on, boys!" You're just like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Yeah, it's always excessive celebrating. You're like, okay, like
from the biggest loser on the team with cutoffs on, right? And you're like, dude,
yeah. There's always someone who cuts their sleeves off, always, which is probably the main reason why they're playing. But everyone on the team is super cool, but the group chat is getting out of hand. Like
they're all gonna watch this too, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they'll all watch it. Yeah, they're big fans of the podcast.
Yeah, that's how it goes, man.
Yeah, but I will give you. We got a doubleheader tomorrow, so our next pod, I'll give you the full report, give you my stat line. I've been playing a variety of positions, outfield, first base. Being left-handed, obviously, we were never allowed to play the infield, like third base, shortstop. So I think I might be able to play third base, which I'm super pumped about.
Wow, nice. Yeah, I was always at first base.
First base, outfield, or pitcher.
Yeah. When you get up, John, it's just like every lefty, hook, right?
They like lose their mind. They're like, whoa. Yeah. That's like, it's like, hey, it's just the other side, you know? But people like, it's like it's such a big charade. And
well, you guys playing 12 or 16?
We play 12 with an actual glove, which I absolutely love. I just love having a glove.
I'm not hitting a pillow.
Yeah. I do have to say,
like hitting a pillow.
Right. I do have to say though that I would be lying if I said that I didn't get more extra base hits only because I'm left-handed in the beer league softball league, because they do put their shittiest player at second base. So I am getting so many base hits. Even when I don't, even like, let's say I'm not hitting a line drive, it's just a hard ground ball, it's getting through. Like my on base percentage is awesome, and I know it's inflated because you in beer league softball, where do you put the shittiest player? You definitely put the shittiest one at catcher, and then you put the second worst one at second base. So.
And then you hope your third one is able to pitch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Beautiful, John. All right, my man. That's episode 2 in the books, coming in at 42 minutes. Beautiful.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And check out Chef's Kiss for episode number 3.
We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.